All right. Good afternoon to those of you on the East Coast. Good morning to those of you on the West Coast. Welcome to This Week in Pop Culture, the show in which we give you the goings on of what happened in the past said week in the world of pop culture. Whether we're talking about local news, film and TV news, sports news, tech news, and the like, we try to bring you up to speed so that way you are not left in the wind. I'm your co-host, Brandon Troy, co-creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. Of course, I'm not going to be alone in talking about the said topics this week. As always, I'm going to have my co-host, Mr. Spillman Trueheart, aka Spills. What's going on, sir?
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? How are we doing today? It's another great week here at This Week in Pop Culture. So let's get to these topics.
All right, excellent. And before we do that too, we actually have another said guest joining us this week to talk about the said topics that we will be covering. They are the hosts of the Hater Nation podcast, as well as the former co-creator and showrunner of All Star Comic Con. I'm happy to welcome back Mr. Michael McNutt. Let me bring him on now. Michael,
what's up, everybody?
hello.
Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday.
For sure. Hello. With that, folks, let me see if I can get us all up here. We've had a lot of things that happen, in this past said week. Whether we're talking about what we have here in the background, the paying of some local high schoolers, as well as to be able to learn, as well as the status of the Smithsonian in lieu of of course, the federal government shutdown. So be sure to stick around for that, as we will cover that to wrap up this week's show. However, before we do that, we have some other stories to address as well, whether it's in the world of gaming, of sports, as well as some birthdays. So without further ado, shall we dive in?
Let's get it.
Please,
all right,
let's
cool.
do it.
So we're going to start first with video games, with our segment known as Video Game Talk, as we did have some news that did drop regarding the Fallout game. And it was with actor Walter Goggins, star of the video game adaptation series Fallout. He revealed on Wednesday via the game's social media that his character, the Ghoul, would be added to the game Fallout 76. According to the announcement, following his wrap-up of Season 2 of the streaming series, he had completed voice work for his character, who will feature in the DLC Burning Springs, which will be arriving in December of this year. Season 2 of the series, meanwhile, is set to drop on December 17th, also of this year. So, fellas, your thoughts on the Ghoul coming to the game, or I should say the series iterations of the Ghoul coming to the game. Whoever like to go first?
I'm not really big on gaming. The only thing I want to say is I'm getting a little bit of Walter Goggins fatigue. I don't know about y'all, but
he's been in a lot of stuff. He's been in a lot. He's
YouTube
been everywhere.
I see Walter Goggins doing his commercials on YouTube about, oh my God. And I think recently he talked about the possibility of people getting tired of him. And he was all for it. Like, he didn't care. He was like, he's going to ride this wave until the wheels come off. I give him credit for that. But man, when I saw that news, I was like, well, it's in my sleep. If you unplug the TV, it's coming through the TV. If I turn off my phone, it's just coming through my phone. It's like Walter Goggins is everywhere. More power to him, but man, I'm getting sick of that man, to be honest with you. But y'all go ahead, y'all vent, y'all spleen. I feel bad. I'm talking directly about Walter, but not the Ghoul and everything. I'm sure it's a good addition.
You good. I love the perspective. Spills.
I have to disagree with Mike, man. Uncle Baby Billy, you could be on TV every day for the rest of my life, and I'm okay with it. I love Uncle Baby Billy. He's great in all the things he does. I thought he was really interesting in the Fallout. He does that work well. I do worry about his mental health because he did say that it seemed like he would go from one show to the next show to the next show without really taking a break. So he went from apparently filming that show White Lotus immediately into the last show with Uncle Baby Billy, and he really couldn't tell who he was supposed to be being at that time because he didn't have time to break. So I do think that there is a level of fatigue that can happen, but with these video games, you need DLC content to keep people coming back because we're not interested enough to play, just the story
The
mode
original
anymore.
content.
We need to have like skins and stuff. Like that $60 that we pay for the game is not enough for the game developers. I get that they want to have an extra $10 infusion into the game, and I think that they're published by EA and they just got purchased, so that's just more money. So I think that this is a good look. He was pretty cool on the show. The makeup looked great. He did not look like a bootleg Red Skull, but it's
Bootleg
pretty
Red
cool.
Skull.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I hear you. I feel like I fall like right in the middle with you in between of the stances that you guys have. I do understand his perspective of not really caring because when we're talking about those that are in that industry and being an actor, it's so unpredictable in terms of how your career can go. You can have moments and spots and time in your career where you're really hot, and then other times where things cool down. So I can understand his perspective of, being able to enjoy his, moment in the sun, so to speak, or his period in the sun, so to speak, while he has it, and really being able to maximize and take advantage of that. So that way, when that time comes where, things start to peter out, that he'll still have, that period of time to reflect on where things were really going. Because with actors in general, it's a constant uphill battle. You're up one time, you're down another time, you're up another time. You have a renaissance of sorts, periodically in different portions of your career. Sometimes we have actors that are able to sustain it for a long period of time over a substantial period of time, but it can fluctuate, as we know, and I mean, especially for each of us that are familiar with the convention circuit, where a lot of times we have actors that utilize that to kind of still support themselves in those periods of time where things are not on fire, so to speak, in terms of what they're doing. Sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't, but we'll see. When it comes to the Fallout game, I don't know. I'm assuming, Mike, you've seen the series, or you haven't?
Yeah, I did watch the series with my
series.
kids. No, I have watched it. It was entertaining, and like I'm a big fan of Walter Goggins. So like I don't want to make sure, of course, former host of the Hater Nation. I'm not a hater. I'm not hating on Walter, but because I loved him in Principles. I think that was his best stuff in Principles. Loved him in the Ant-Man series. Loved him in Righteous Gemstones. Like he does some fantastic stuff. I love him in White Lotus. He has a wide variety, in which when you look at him, you can think he's one type of actor, but he's able to give you so much. But man, it's a little too much right now. I mean, I get it. I get it. He wants to make that money and make that money while it's hot. Because eventually, people will start siding with me.
It'll peter out.
People will start saying, "Yeah, I'm getting kind of tired of Walter Goggins," but he got that money. I mean, like it's every commercial. Was going through that. You're on any streaming service, he just pops up. Yeah,
I was gonna say Pedro was going through that
more
too.
Power to him. Do your thing, Walter. Yes.
Yeah,
oh my God.
For sure.
Even my kids would recognize that. Him and Jason Statham. People don't want to say that, but Jason Statham, he makes the same movie. Every movie is a Jason. Is
and he's the same character. I'm sorry, I love Jason Statham's awesome, but it's the same same movie.
It's the same characters, the same setup. It's very European Asian film market where it's the same premise over and over and over again, and they just put another guy in. So I guarantee his movies do fantastic overseas because they're used to that type of nonsense. They're used to him being like, he's a former fill in the blank, most dangerous man, part of the most dangerous unit in America, in the world type situation. He's not just a guy. He's always
secretive history somehow, military experience somewhere.
And the thing is, they're a little smarter. They're a little smarter than what they used to do with Arnold, because they'd make Arnold like a former Green Beret, former Delta Force, with that thick ass Austrian accent. At least with Statham, they admit like, oh, he's overseas somewhere. He's former MI6 or he's former this. He's like, all right, I can believe that. But don't. Oh, he was part of a joint venture with the U.S. military. He was never military like, Arnold's walking up in there like, oh yeah, he's a staff sergeant here in the United States military. Not with that thick ass Austrian accent, he ain't. So I give him credit. But like, I just watched The Beekeeper and another one that I actually got confused. I got them confused. Yeah, Beekeeper, and then there was another one that they promoted. Created by and it was created by the people who created The Beekeeper. So I'm like, why did you just call it Beekeeper 2? Why? I get what you're doing. Like, I'm familiar with your work.
I can't be mad at him because we're still shelving out money to see him play the same character again.
I clicked play.
Hey, I can't be mad.
I like when he's like, I never look at the package. It's like, yeah, exactly. You don't look in there. That's great.
I love that he did one when it was like medieval times. All I know is it was Jason Statham in a mesh and a sword. So I'm like, oh, this must be a period piece.
Oh my god!
But he was still Jason Statham.
It's In the Name of the King, I think.
Yes, he was still though Jason Statham. I guarantee if I watch that, he does karate in Middle Ages. I'm sure he did karate.
There you go.
I'm like, he's just Jason Statham. He didn't even change his accent.
Yeah, another awesome addition in the pool of Uwe Boll films, because I'm pretty sure that was a Uwe Boll, I think, a film of his. And anyone who knows his filmography, it is quite something. That's what I'll say. But what about you guys out there? What are your thoughts on Goggins the Ghoul coming to the gaming world of Fallout? Is it too much, Goggins? Maybe some of you feel like it's too much out there, that feel like Michael will agree with you, but maybe some of you guys feel differently. Let us know down below. But we're gonna move on to our sports cooler talk. Bring this up here. We did have some info surrounding the world of the NBA as well as the NFL. We're gonna jump first into the NBA. Let's see if I can get this down here. Here we go. But yeah, we're going to jump first into the NBA side of things. As it was reported on Tuesday by Shams Charania that free agent Seth Curry had signed a one-year deal with the Warriors. This occasion marks the first time the brothers will be sharing the court together on the same team. We also, meanwhile, that same with the same franchise, we have head coach Steve Kerr of the Warriors entering the final season of his current contract. He shared on Tuesday afternoon that the team's during the first team's practice of the season that he has no issue letting his contract expire before cementing his future. Kerr is entering his 12th season coaching Curry, Green, and the Warriors, having 4 titles, of course, with the team within that stretch. Between what we have with Seth Curry as well as with the expiring contract with Steve Kerr, gentlemen, your thoughts on what's happening with the Warriors?
I guess, I feel like this is like when the Lakers gave Kobe $50 million, even though he was a used up old man. I feel like they just trying to keep Steph happy. Be like, hey, Steph, retire as a warrior. We'll keep your coach. We give your brother a job. So I think that they're just trying to keep Steph in place, make sure that he doesn't go and ask for some crazy amount of money. I think that this is also the ownership group trying to show future stars that the Warriors are a team that you can believe in and a team that will throw money at the things that make you feel happy as a player. So I think that these are smart moves. Sure, they're not going to win them no championships, but you win championships with stars, and stars come places where they take care of you. That's why the Wizards ain't never won nothing, but that's a story for another day.
So
For
you feel it's a
real.
sentimental move. I got you, Mike.
Yeah, I think it's part sentimental, but I think there's some strategy behind it. Steph is getting older. I think, whatever contract he is in, it will be the final contract. And I would think Steph and Coach Kerr would like to kind of ride off in the sunset together, or at least
Yeah.
Kerr would like to ride off in the sunset with Steph and then move on to other things. I think there's still always that little bit of magic that the Warriors have that make them a very attractive team. The big question with is Jonathan Kuminga. I know that
Yes.
Kerr and Kuminga don't really get along, and they've really not found a purpose for Kuminga, even though other teams are very interested in having him. So that's always going to be a very interesting sticking point. A player that might not necessarily fit the Kerr mold, but then what happens between those two? Like Kuminga appears to have a lot of talent. He hasn't necessarily hit the top of his potential yet. Will it be here? Will it be after Steph is gone? Will it be somewhere else? I think Seth is, yes, another like let's get those pictures for opening night. Let's have them pose at midcourt. Let's have Dell on one side of the court, Mama Curry on the other, since they're no longer together. But every time one of them hits a three, hit a shot of Dell and the Mama, and everyone looking and all. I want everyone happy that they scored, or Seth passed the Steph, and they do. And we're gonna get so many damn videos of them as little kids, like every time we used to see Peyton and Eli as little kids all the time. So we'll get all that all year. That'll get sick, just like I'm sick of Walter Goggins. That'll get sick of it. But also, Seth also offers a unique kind of replacement if, and it's been happening lately, Steph gets hurt. As well conditioned as Steph is, I think all these years of him running around, all these years of him getting fouled, whether on the shot or on the drive, he's had a lot of kind of impact injuries, not necessarily things that are career threatening, but the lack of a better word, when he hurt his butt one year and then his ankles are always bad. Having someone that's comparable, but not the same, of course, as Seth Curry, but having someone who's comparable like Seth out there kind of being the kind of understudy. It's kind of weird you could say something like that, but the team is pretty strong in terms of firepower. My biggest thing is they don't really have, even though they did pick up Al Horford, I don't think they have a lot down low facing teams like a returning Wemby and other teams out west that have a lot more power down in their forward and center spots than what the Warriors have, which they have a lot of strength, in their backcourt, but not a lot of strength in their front court. But Warriors are always interesting. It's so funny. They're kind of out of the title picture and out of title contention, but they're always a story because they're just a fun team. They're a fun, exciting team to watch.
Yeah, for sure. And I agree with that, is that, they're always going to be in the mix, as you were saying, Mike. But as someone who is a fan of this team, I also have to be objective in the fact that there isn't a lot of versatility down low in their front court. So it really, things really kind of fly by how our jump shooting is doing versus what we're getting from down low. So
and they have some youth, but then they sit there and say, hey, we're reinforcing our team by picking up old ass Al Horford. It's like, oh,
Hey,
okay.
that's a champion, young man. You don't talk about Al Horford like that.
But
I'm gonna call it what it
years earlier. Grab him a couple of years earlier, now I would feel differently. But yeah, I'm gonna have to say, like, it's kind of too late. I don't like the fact that they haven't made, unlike a lot of teams, over this off season, didn't really make that many moves. That was a little concerning. That they didn't really make any pushes to really. They didn't really demonstrate an urgency, in my opinion, of honestly seeking to become a title contender. They're going to be in the mix regardless, but I didn't see any of those moves. It was like, okay, I see what you guys are doing here. I feel like with the Jonathan Kuminga situation, they didn't maximize that as much as I felt that they were capable of doing, and kind of moving that piece out of the way, because I don't want it to be a repeat situation of what we had with, even though it's not at the same level, he's nowhere near at the same level as Kevin Durant, but what we had with the whole Kevin Durant and what was it, situation that we had with brain farting the guy's name, with
Iguodala?
with who with
With
who
Iguodala?
no, not with Iguodala. I'm with gosh,
Oh,
brain
Jordan
farting.
Poole. Jordan Poole. That's who you're thinking of.
It was Jordan Poole and this other guy and this other player, but it wasn't with Green. Can't believe I wasn't thinking of him with Draymond Green.
Draymond.
Draymond Green has always kind of been the wild card, the X factor with some of the personality relationships or frictions that happen. It did happen with Poole, but I would say in comparing it more so with the schism that happened with him and Kevin Durant, which to this day it still bums me out that Kevin Durant left, because I feel like we would be talking a couple of more titles at this point had he decided just to stick around and ride it out. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens with that, and I do agree about the Steve Kerr thing, and that he's not concerned about it, because I feel like at this point he really has nothing else to prove as a coach. And,
Nothing.
After this season, he really can honestly make an assessment. Okay, are we in a position to actually make another run? If not, maybe I need to leave now and not mess with my legacy, versus trying to drag this on further, just for the sake of making more money, which I feel like he has more than enough of and doesn't need more of.
I think he's also the kind of guy who can easily transition to a TV role, take a little bit of a break. You're looking at a guy who, ever since he even got out of the league, he was out of the league. He immediately was an assistant coach. He worked with Pop. Then he became a head coach. He had that debilitating neck injury.
Right.
I think one of the championship years, and was out for quite some time. And that was a scary situation. And then he came back. They won another championship. So like, your legacy is good. I mean, you could be dog awful this year and the next year and whatever. Your legacy is fine, dude. Just like Steph Curry's is fine. And I'm still going to hit on Al Horford, because him and his University of Florida Gators defeated my George Mason University Patriots in the Final Four back in the day. So don't tell me to stop hating, because as Brandon told you earlier, I was the former host of the Hater Nation. So I will hate on Al Horford and his 97-year-old knees. I will hate on him in a heartbeat.
But he doesn't use his knees. That's the thing that Al Horford has kept him in the league. He's always been
upper body.
He played Uncle basketball when he was at Florida. He wasn't a high flyer. He's pump faking, shimmies, reverse layups and stuff. He was doing all that kind of stuff. So, I understand your frustration, but y'all was happy to be in that Final Four. That's why y'all lost. I feel like if y'all had gotten there and y'all was like, we're going to win a championship this year, y'all would have won. But that year, y'all was like, oh my God, we in the Final Four.
I was just riding that wave. I was riding that wave every game. I was in D.C. We drove to Indianapolis. I was riding the wave. I could care less. I'm like, I was in the Hoosier Dome looking up. I was like, man, we're in the Hoosier Dome. We're George Mason University. But then Al Horford pissed me off, so I can't do it.
Al Horford, he did the same thing to the Wizards many years ago, when they didn't put Nene in the game in the playoffs against the Hawks. And he snatched a rebound that he shouldn't have got if they would have put a big body in there. But, sometimes coaches be getting too cute and they put too many guards in the game to play defense. I understand that that's a thing. You'd be like, but we need offense. Like, no, you need a rebound, son. You need to get the rebound.
We can spend 3 whole shows. We can have a mini series on how dumb the Wizards are.
Yeah, for sure.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So we're going to switch gears to the other portion of our sports cooler talk. We're going to move over to the gridiron, if you will. Bring our graphic up now regarding that story. All right, we're having a little issue there, but it was revealed on. It was revealed that this past Tuesday that Lamar Jackson would be missing the next 2 to 3 weeks of his games. However, as the days go by, it still continues to be an ongoing development. We know, at least for the most recent game that they have, that he will not be playing. Meanwhile, on Wednesday, it was revealed by the Commanders organization that starting QB Jayden Daniels, who had been nursing a knee injury the past few weeks, had been cleared by doctors to play in the upcoming matchup against the Chargers. Aside from being back on the field, the game will have added significance for Jayden, as it will be 70 miles away from his hometown of San Bernardino. Gentlemen, your thoughts on Lamar Jackson being out and Daniels returning?
As I have in my background here, that's my quarterback, ladies and gentlemen. Shout out to Jay Daniels and the Commanders. We took a hard loss last week against those hated Atlanta Falcons. But that was a trap game. That was our coach's old team, and he went to the conference. That's a trap game. He took that team. He took us to the conference finals, and those losers didn't go nowhere last year. So they wanted to show our team, who did not have our quarterback or our best offensive player in the game. So they wanted to show us up, and we hung in there, but we did not have our starters. So that's whatever. But excited to see Jayden back. We need him to continue his winning ways. The season's kind of been up and down, and we need to go back up. I think that will be a good thing for him to return. I'm looking forward to that. How about you, Mike? Are you a big football fan?
I'm a huge football fan. I guess you can see behind me. Maybe
we can see.
Over here.
Yeah, we see those pigskins back there.
I got my George Mason bobbleheads, but on the other side of it, I got my Washington Redskins helmet signed by all the MVPs of the Super Bowl. I got a couple of helmets and balls here around the corner. When you enter my basement, it says Redskin Way. I got my Doug Williams jersey up there. I got my Darryl Green bobbleheads right here. Got my Sonny Jurgensen, Bobby Mitchell signed helmet. So, yeah, I'm a football fan. I'm a huge football fan. I also hate the Washington Commander fan base. All right?
Oh, wow.
Y'all think y'all deserve way too much. Trust me. I was there just like you, Spills. You got a little gray in your beard, too. So, I was there back in 82 when we won the big one, 83 when we went back, 87 when Doug had that magic, and 91 when Rip and Gibbs took care of business. I was there for all those games. I was there. I got the pennants. I got the fig. I got this thing. I found this thing in a yard sale. I had this thing when I was 10 years old. Used to rub it for good luck. But I hate this fan base. All right? The fan base thinks they deserve way too much. They hate people 1 minute. They love people the next. 1 second, Terry McLaurin wants some money. We don't want to pay him. Then they pay him. All right, we got Scary Terry, which is, by the way, one of the dumbest ass nicknames I've ever heard in my life. You had T-Mac sitting right there, and you call him Scary Terry. That's a dumbass nickname. That's something a third grader comes up with. So then you sign him. He don't produce, and suddenly everyone starts getting mad at him. Then he hurts himself, and people start questioning whether we need to pay him. That's why I hate this fan base. They go back and forth. They're the most fair-weather fan base I've ever seen in my life. All right? They bring back all the nasty and ugliness from Dan Snyder, and they just keep it within themselves, and they deserve everything bad that happens to them. Reality is coming, Washington fans. They're coming real quick. You had a magical season last year. Fantastic. But it's all coming back to reality, looking at another 500 season, just like y'all used to always have back in the day. Regarding Jayden Daniels, I'm a big fan of him, even though most of the Washington Commanders fan base didn't want him when they first drafted him. I know you. I've seen you on Twitter. I know who you are. I have the receipts. All right, so you didn't like him back then, but now you loved him when he was doing all things. Sounds like another quarterback we had back in the day. Young brother used to run around a whole lot. You loved him in his rookie year too, RG3, and then you threw him to the wayside. Also, big ups, big prayers, RG3. He was in a car accident this week, but it looks like he's okay. But with Jayden and getting injured, what I do like about what the program, I always call things programs instead of the
It's all
organization.
good.
But what they did, unlike what they did with RG3, they allowed Jayden to rest. You know, they allowed him to rest. They didn't put him right back out there. But my concern is the way that Jayden plays. His body type is not Lamar Jackson, who, by the way, takes a lot of hits. Jayden likes taking hits. Jayden don't like to slide. Jayden likes taking hits. I don't know. Maybe he got something in his head thinking he's bigger than what he really is. But he needs to learn how to protect his body because he's more RG3 body type than Lamar Jackson body type. He cannot survive an NFL season, which, by the way, has more games now than before, taking hits like that. So far this season, 6 quarterbacks, major quarterbacks, have been injured. Lamar, Jayden, Joe Burrow, Justin Field had a concussion. J.J. McCarthy had a high ankle sprain, and Brock Purdy's in and out with a toe injury. We're not even into the full extent of the length of the season issue, but we are having players and teams traveling to other countries, coming back. We do have, I really don't know what the problem is with so many injuries early on, but it is concerning because the quarterback is your primary high-key, marquee guy. And to have a lot of them injured, no one's going to watch Marcus Mariota do a damn thing under center. I'm sorry. No one's going to want to watch him. No one's going to want to watch any of these other backup quarterbacks. You want your main guys, and they've done everything in the NFL to protect the quarterbacks, but they're still getting hurt. So it's a really concerning thing that a lot of these quarterbacks getting hurt. Lamar Jackson is, every year an MVP candidate. We can't have a guy like that hurt. He's one of the faces of the NFL, along with Jayden Daniels, young face of the NFL. We can't get these guys hurt, but the league's not doing anything for them by having them play Monday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, over and over again. It's a wear and tear on these poor guys' body, and I hope they figure it out.
All right. Well, your response, Bills?
Yeah, the fan base. We can say a lot of things about the fan base, but
they're garbage.
We still have to put on the show every week, Mike. So we love you guys, Commanders fans. We know that y'all are listening and tune in every week because Mike ain't always gonna be here. But no,
I ain't gonna always be here. Exactly. But you can find me on Twitter at the Hater Nation. But you can find me on Twitter at the Hater Nation.
Mike. Go ahead.
That's right. I'm a panderer. I will pander to the fans because that's how we keep these lights on at the show. But
wow.
That's why I'm a guest.
Yeah, that's right. The views and opinions of Mike McNutt are solely held by him.
I'll watch this back and there'll be some disclaimer. I didn't know there was a disclaimer in front of this show.
This week in pop culture.
Man. Why am I muted? Why was I muted during the NFL segment?
That's right.
Oh, wow. Gaslighting.
Yeah. But,
go ahead.
I agree with the, schedule being crazy as it was. Not to mention, you didn't add that they'd be making them fly to a whole other countries to play football, which is crazy. When's the last time you got on an international flight? Those take a lot out of you to take an international flight and then get in a car accident, which is tackle football over and over again, is kind of crazy, So good to see him back, but we've got a lot of things to do. We're right in the hunt for the playoffs right now, and it would be a major disappointment to not make the playoffs again with the moves that they made in this offseason. So they got to get him back out there. Also, like you said, shout outs to RG3. His family was in a bad car accident, and he seems to have injured himself a bit, but hopefully everything will turn out well for him. Hopefully Lamar gets better. Our friends up the street in Baltimore all have, Ravens fever. Even though they've stunk this year, the Ravens have stunk for the first time in memory. It feels like they're always a playoff Super Bowl contenders. So we'll just see. These injuries are crazy in the NFL, but that's the story of football. You're gonna get hurt running into people.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely. No, and like what you said, the traveling internationally is crazy because we'll look at college football, and one of the factors, whether it's betting odds or whether the performance of the team, we're like, they're traveling from the West Coast to the East Coast to play this team. It's like, all right, well, those are kids, they do that, and that's over a span of a couple of days. But you're looking at, like you said, some of these, they're doing international fights. You're going to Spain, they're going to England, they're going to Germany. That does take a wear and tear on your body, especially if some of these games are quick turnarounds. You know,
Yeah.
like I feel really bad when I see a team like, oh, well, they just finished playing Sunday night. Maybe they got the Sunday night game and we'll see them again Thursday night. Damn, really? You know, like they don't even have time to really like rest and recruit, especially if it's an away game. So say you're an away game, you end on a Sunday night. You have to fly back, maybe cross country. So then you're done pretty much Monday. You know, Monday you're done. Maybe you come in Monday afternoon for workouts. Then you got what, Tuesday, Wednesday. Wednesday you're traveling to your game Thursday. You know, that's insane. That's absolutely insane. So, you know, the physicality of the sport has always been, you know, paramount, but now you're really putting in kind of the mental and physical fatigue of traveling so far. Like, just put that into perspective. If I didn't have to get hit or hit people for a living, and I had to go somewhere Sunday night and then have to go somewhere again Thursday, I'm 52 years old. That's a wear and tear on my body, and I don't even do anything.
Right.
Well, let me ask you guys this. This is to both of you, and whether we're talking about Lamar Jackson or we're talking about Daniels, is Baltimore, as you said, Spills is in a predicament this season so far to start, where they've dug themselves a bit of a hole. So I mean, it would make sense that you want to be able to protect Jackson, but I feel like with the Commanders, while it's not a foregone conclusion that they can, make it, to the very end of the postseason and make a run, considering what is at stake with Daniels, do you still feel, I know that the doctors cleared them, do you still feel like it was the right decision to have him play, or at least have him sit out at least another week before getting back on the field?
I think he should play. Unfortunately, football is a game where you got to play. If you are avoiding the injuries, that means you're injured and you shouldn't be playing football. Like, if you can play, you got to go out there and play. Sure, he may get hurt more, but you could be 100% healthy and get hurt. So you just got to play. Football is, you will get hurt eventually. You just got to play.
You gotta play
That's
through
all
it.
I got.
Oh yeah. I mean, the old saying in football is you hurt. You're going to be hurt all season. Now, there's always a difference between hurt and injured. But
Yeah.
I coach basketball at Chantilly, but we talk to our football players and we're like, listen, to those kids that are new, listen, you're going to hurt. This is going to hurt. You will not be hurt throughout this entire season. You will be hurt this entire season. It's just a fact of the matter. You know, that's just the way it is. And those are little kids hitting each other. So grown men hitting each other. Yeah. You will never be 100%. You won't be 100%. Once you've decided to play NFL football, you will not be 100% for the rest of your life. CSA shows, we go, I get all these things signed by all these athletes. You meet them, man, you shake their hands. Fingers are all over the place, pointing in all different directions, looking crazy. Like, they get up, they can't walk right. I mean, I got a couple of friends who just play D1 college basketball, and they walking in and out of a patio, kind of taking their steps gingerly. So like professional sports, even at the highest level, college sports, take a lot out of your body. So you'll never be healthy, but can you go? And is there a percentage, a higher percent? What's the highest? What percentage could you re-injure yourself? And now you have to look at that. It's never going to be, 0%. But if they're willing to survive 15%, and if Jayden's all willing to work with 15%, then do it. If you look back at the RG3 scenario, like we said, they immediately said, after one game, Kirk played well one game. They're like, you got to get your butt back out there. Or he said, I got to get my butt out there. Or his daddy said he needed to get his butt out there. Or Snyder said, whoever said it, whether it was Shanahan, Snyder, or Daddy Griffin, or Rob, someone got him out there. And unfortunately, we saw what ended up happening. He was not ready. And, I was there watching him limping and screaming at the TV, like we do when we scream at movies, like get him off the field. And next thing you know, it was all over,
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, I'm just curious because, Spillman, you've played, I played, you got a coach here as well. And in speaking of, what that's like of being injured, there is an interesting dynamic there where, you're eager to get back, back to playing, whether it's on, whether it's on the football field or on the court, what have you. And sometimes your eagerness is, gets in front of your actual ability to be ready to play.
Well,
And
I thought you were going to say ego and eagerness.
That works too. So,
I mean,
that
that'll get
mentality
you. Yeah.
is not thinking equaling, what's happening with your body. And
Yeah.
sometimes it takes someone objectively on the outside to say, hey, I know you're eager to play. Let's give it at least one more game for you to, kind of get acclimated to practice. Let me see how you look or how you feel before I get you back, back into the swing of things. So I'm just curious because I mean, as you guys said, I'm fully aware. You're always going to have knick-knack things that are bothering you over the course of the season, but at the same time, sometimes whether it's ego, whether it's whatever mentality you have, sometimes you can kind of get ahead of yourself and think that you're ready when your body really isn't ready yet. And
Yep.
sometimes it helps to have that little extra time,
Definitely.
especially when you have the luxury that I feel like the Commanders have more so than the Ravens when we're talking about how
definitely.
their season looks. So, but what about you guys out there? You can let us know down below. Do you feel like that Jayden is should be playing, or do you feel like he should be given a little more time, despite how he may feel, or even the fact that doctors have cleared? Do you feel like he should have been provided a little more time? And then the same thing with Lamar Jackson. What are your thoughts on that, and kind of the hole that the Ravens currently have themselves dug in, and if they'll be able to dig themselves out of it? Let us know down below. But with
And our Commander fan base, are they fair weather? Are they fickle? Ask that. Put that in the comments too.
that as well, I would love to know.
Yeah, are they fickle? Be honest. They are.
But with that, we're going to get into some of our birthday shout outs. I'm going to bring that up now. So, yeah, like I said, let us know down below. But we did have some birthdays this week, whether we're talking sports or even film and TV. This was on Monday. We had two birthdays with Kevin Durant, who turned 37, and Ian McShane, actor Ian McShane, turned 83. On Tuesday, we had Kieran Culkin, who turned 43. And on Saturday, we had the great Derrick Rose, who celebrated 37. So when we're talking about these individuals here, whether it's on the court or on the screen or small screen, what are your thoughts? Or there's some works of theirs that you guys enjoy? Or even if we're talking about periods in their career, when we're talking about Durant and Rose. Whoever likes to go.
My favorite Kevin Durant era was when Washington fans thought he was coming to the Wizards. That was the funniest damn thing. Oh my God. It's making me smile.
About the prom queen.
Oh, that was the funniest damn thing.
She wants me.
I forget. It was like they had the go-go bands, and I remember Kevin saying, I can get go-go tapes shipped to me. I don't need to be back home. They were so adamant. They thought they were going to get Kevin Durant. Every time Kevin Durant's contract comes up, there's some Wizard fan base like, here's our chance. Here's our time. Whatever last year Durant has, that'll be the year he signs. He will be busted, ashier than ever, and just can't play no more. That's when he signs the contract. That's when he's going to sign that contract. That's my favorite Kevin Durant era, was when he kept dissing Washington Wizards fans. It was the funniest damn thing I'd ever seen in my life.
Spills?
Yeah, shout outs to all these guys. Really, I feel like shout out to Kieran Culkin, because he's the only one that you would not have expected to have a good career. But he popped up. Everybody was like, hey, ain't that Macaulay Culkin? And it's like, no, it's not Macaulay. It's his brother that was in the movie with him. But he got famous 30 years later. So good for him. I'm sure
Award-winning.
that was great for his ego, because, it's one thing to be a child star. It's a whole other thing to be a star as an adult person where you can make your own career decisions. And I'm sure that him being able to pick, his own work and to be award winning, like you said, and to make that cheddar that you can spend yourself on what you would like to, has been very liberating for him. Obviously D Rose, he's one of the greatest what ifs in NBA history. What if he would have stayed healthy?
Man. Scary.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And then Ian McShane from all his great work. Shout out to him. But like you said, those Wizards fans, very funny. It's just very funny to see them beg like they do, like a low
Yeah.
down, dirty dog. Like, why
Just
would y'all beg him like
begging.
that?
Yeah, and D Rose, it not only is kind of a what if, but not even so. Like what we had was fantastic too. Like
It was.
that part, that little moment, those moments we had of D Rose pre-injury, and even the fantastic story of him having 50 after when he scored 50 after. But I had one of my players, young players, ask me back, not too long ago. He's like, "Coach, was D Rose like that back in the day?" They didn't know because they only know
What?
this D Rose.
Oh my
They only know
gosh.
this D Rose. So I was like,
Yeah, thanks for
you bring
making
your
us feel
tail over.
old, Mike. Thanks,
Yep.
Mike.
I said, bring your tail over here. I was like,
Bring
let
that
me put on a
YouTube up.
YouTube.
Pull that
I was like, let me
YouTube
put
up.
a YouTube up. And they were like, what? I'm like, yeah. Yeah. D Rose was like that. Because they had heard like, oh, D Rose is good, but they don't know. So I was like,
Yeah,
let's put on
they see,
YouTube.
they know that what is it? The T Wolves,
Yeah, they know T-Wolves, they know New York
T-Wolves.
Knicks, D Rose,
Right.
they know the D Rose that stay below the
Man.
rim. I was like, they don't know that other one that was doing full pipe back scratching dunks on people. They don't know about that D Rose. So I was like, you need to watch this clip real quick. Watch this 20 minutes and get back to me.
I'm about to say they don't know that Rose Mike that I've heard about where they have players all of a sudden coming down with the flu when they know that they're about to play D Rose. People apparently you guys can look it up online. You have a whole bunch of players talking about we had teammates where when the Bulls were coming into town when D Rose was him like. They all of a sudden had an injury where they had to be on a do not play list, do not play list, or they had the flu all of a sudden. They came down with the Rose flu, whenever he came into town because they didn't want any of it.
NBA couldn't play zone back then, but if they could, they'd be like, oh, good. Thank God we can play zone. I don't have to go chase this brother around. I don't have to match up with him. I don't want to match up with D Rose. I don't want to be on someone's video.
So I'm curious, like when you have a player like that, like what would be your scheme, Mike, for a player like that? When we're talking about like that Bulls D Rose, that type of player that has that type of ability. You like
besides prayer. Yeah, I mean, really, like besides prayer, like we have a philosophy here: no middle, no paint. You try to get him out of the paint. But if you're that skilled, what can you do? But yeah, you definitely try to force him away from the paint. I would jam him. I wouldn't give him space because if you give a guy like that space, he's gonna blow right by you. But then again, who do you have that can create? That can decrease space against a D Rose in his prime. I mean, that's like, hey, how do you stop Michael Jordan?
Joe Kim that's how you decrease the space. Yeah, Joe Kim on the team, he can't shoot, so you just load up on that other side. I feel like that's a boxing one. I definitely would have boxing one him because Lou Alding, you're a great humanitarian, but please beat me. I'd like to see you beat me, please. You. And Joe Kim
if I need some water, if I need some irrigation, I'm gonna call Lou all day.
Yeah,
but if I need someone to back me up on the weak side,
No, I mean, but I hear you though, because he was a type of player where he had insane. He's one of those players who had like insane body control, and I've never seen players like that where even in mid-air to have that amount of body control to be able to weave and dodge things like to get to the basket. Like the amount of agility and body control that he was able to demonstrate was like otherworldly.
But the thing I always like. The thing I like about him, and he's very similar to John Morant in his explosiveness, but Ja doesn't have the body type. He's more of a wiry player. But he also, I always call it a violent jumper. He was a violent jumper. Like even when he was in midair and changing, it wasn't necessarily smooth. He did it with anger. When he attacked the goal, he attacked it with anger. He wasn't looking for style points. It looked stylish, but he was a very violent jumper. And I think that's what, like, when you have that kind of ability, like, and you lose your knees, like that takes away 90% of what makes you fantastic. Because he was such an explosive player too. His drives to get to the violent jumping were also aggressive and violent. And I love that out of players. When I see players that I coach or I have to play against, that are violent jumpers or violent players with that aggressive kind of jolt and burst out of the the blocks out of the triple threat or off a twitch. That's what it is. When they got that twitch, man, like there's a whole lot there's not a whole lot you can do. Just kind of pray he misses. Stuff like that.
For sure. And I mean, and talking about like the other folks that that were listed there, I would be remiss, of course, Kevin Durant, DC, I like to say DC product, and I know that technically if you're getting technical of schools of it being in Montgomery County, but we all count it. If you're from DC, you count all of that as DC metropolitan area, DC, Maryland, Virginia. So shout out to Kevin Durant. That era, I would say, obviously I'm a little biased on the era that he had with my Warriors. But I mean, I still would be remiss not to go into the era with the Thunder, where we had James Harden, we had Westbrook, and all those guys all on the same crew. Is crazy to believe that they were all at one point all playing together, and what they were able to do once they disbanded, and what they could have accomplished had they been in their respective primes together and remained together. Another crazy what if a story there. I'm talking about Ian McShane, again, incredible body of work. Whether we're talking about, like I can go as far back as Deadwood. I could even go into the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, but I mean, of course, I would be remiss, at least recently in the current time that we're in now, of the John Wick movies and what the role that he's been able to carve out for himself within that franchise. Incredible actor and still doing his thing, like even at 83, and still, a franchise player in a major tentpole film, is pretty incredible. You guys said what you had to say about Derrick Rose. I don't feel like there's much else there, but when we're talking about Culkin and like you were saying, Spillman, being able to carve out a career for himself, of a lot of the things that he's done, whether it's been, I remember once upon a time when he was in, Scott Pilgrim versus the World, or not, what was this? Was it Scott Pilgrim? I feel like it was.
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, Scott Pilgrim versus the World, and the role that he had there. Even if we're talking about Succession, he's incredible. He's incredible on that series as well. So yeah, a huge upside in terms of where his trajectory is right now, and outside of Macaulay, who at the time one would argue was like the most famous Culkin, of being able to now be able to distinguish himself also as an award-winning actor as well. I'm curious to see what types of roles he'll choose going forward, because he even though I feel like he's a terrific actor, he has a tendency to kind of fall into that trap of being the really quirky characters, and I don't want that to kind of be a role that he continues to do. He's very good at those types of roles, but I want to see him, try a variety of different other ones, because it feels like lately, even though he has cemented himself, as I said, as an award-winning actor, I want to see him kind of branch out of that quirky, weird character niche that he's played the last few times. So with that being said, happy birthday to all those folks there. For you guys down out there, are there any particular works, whether we're talking about our NBA legends here, one who's active and one who is not, as well as our two actors here with McShane and Culkin? You can let us know down in the comments. But we're going to move on to our main topic story. See if I can bring that up for you all now. You guys have it there in the background. And this was an interesting study done with local high schoolers, as well as info surrounding the Smithsonian in lieu of course, the federal government shutdown. On Monday, by way of Fox 5, it was revealed that the program known as the $50 study, which is in partnership with the nonprofit Rooted School Foundation, will provide $50 per week for 40 weeks, totaling $2,000 per student to 40 seniors at Digital Pioneers Academy in Southeast DC, with the funds coming from grants and philanthropy. In order to participate, students will opt into the program with 40 selected through a random lottery. Those chosen will receive the funds via reloadable debit cards. The deadline to apply occurred on Friday, so October 3rd. Meanwhile, on Tuesday, again, tipping the hat to Fox 5, the Smithsonian announced on Tuesday evening that it will stay open in the event of a federal government shutdown. On the Smithsonian website, the organization shared that it has money available from years prior to help stay open. The plan is for the Smithsonian to remain open at least until October 6th, which is tomorrow. So we'll see, what happens to that. So with that being said, whether we're talking about the Smithsonian or some local DC high schoolers being paid to learn, in essence, what are your thoughts on these respective stories, gentlemen?
I find it interesting, the whole paying students thing. But then again, college kids, college athletes get paid. So it
Sure.
seems like an interesting incentive. I'm looking at the article. I didn't really see exactly what it's about, like what they're going to be studying or working through. But it's kind of, dare I say, a slippery slope, because they said if it works, it's going to expand to other DCPS schools.
Yes.
It's an interesting incentive, and it seems it's for a high performing school, so they're rewarding high performing students. It's kind of
Gotcha.
novel and interesting, but like I said, it could just open up a weird
Can of worms.
can of worms where you're just paying kids to go to school. Seems like
Which they should be doing anyway.
yeah, like it seems like, and these are high performing kids too. Like these are
Yeah.
this is a high performing charter schools. Like I thought, I would assume that you would be looking forward to going to school. Now you're getting paid to go. So it seems like, yeah, you're a professional student. So it just seems kind of odd. Just seems interesting, but hey, then again, I didn't expect, to see college football players driving around in Rolls Royces and land Range Rovers and stuff like that. But maybe I'm just getting too old for the game.
Spills.
So I think that the paying students is a thing. We complain about, kids congregating and doing things that are crazy. People that get money don't want to do things that are crazy because they mess their money up. I think that we be knowing that in our society, but then we don't act like we know it because, we don't be thinking people deserve money. But, kids work hard. I think that, $50 a week is not really a lot of money when you look at the grand scheme of things, but it's enough money to keep them out of trouble. It'll teach them financial literacy that they need to have. I don't have anything negative to say about that. There's lots of programs that they're trying to do where they've showed positive things with, surprisingly, if you give people money, they generally do good things with the money. It's not like they hoard it and then will take the money and try to take over the water system or something like that, where we give money to other people. But, that's not really what the podcast is about. Coming soon, Spill's conspiratorial thoughts.
Well,
I'll be a part of that one. Let me be on that one. I love a good
There we go.
conspiracy.
So to your point, I'll address both of them. And talking about this $50 study, to answer your question, Michael, it is apparently, and I can post it up there. I'll try to also put it in the description. Apparently, it started in 2020 in other states, in New Orleans and Indianapolis, and they received some success in that regard. And to your point, Spills, what they found in doing that study elsewhere, which is why it now has extended now into DC, is that apparently it reduced financial hardship, where a lot of students were using it for things that they would need as necessities, whether it was food, whether it was for transportation, whether it was for Around this time, you have a lot of students that are thinking about college, like you said, Michael. So they're using it towards their applications for college applications. To your point, Spills, it improved school attendance. Obviously they don't want to mess with their money, so they, have a higher tendency to not,
Nobody wants
miss
to mess
out on
with their
school.
money, man. That's the rule of
Um,
life. Don't mess with my money,
yeah.
man.
So I mean, you had instances of that, but yeah, apparently it's been going around for. I'm gonna try to see if I can share this here. Is that it's been going on apparently since 2020, so about 5 years, and they now are placing this out in DC, but it has been going on elsewhere with students. So let me see if I can get this up. So yeah, they have it here where they have a breakdown of it being the largest direct cash transfer of its kind for high school students in the U.S. But yeah, we also have it here since 2020. Over 400 students in New Orleans and Indianapolis have received more than 500,000 in total cash support. And just as I was saying, students are using their funds for food, for transportation, for applications, driver's ed, and more, which are, obviously a lot of things that are on the minds of high school students in terms of what they're trying to get done. And they've been able to find, from those studies, whether it's with what's happened in New Orleans or Indianapolis, all those said things that have come as a result of that. But with all of that being said, though, it is interesting to your point, Michael, that I never thought that we would be in a day and age where uh, folks would have to get paid to be convinced to go to school, something that you have to do anyway. Whenever you're going into at any point where you're going into the workforce, you're not being paid for school, but that time and that experience spent in school are skills that you're going to learn and continue to develop going forward, whether you're in the workforce or whether it's something that you need on your resume to get you to the next step. That what you do in school obviously will help you get into, ideally, the college of your choice, which then would lead into the career of your choice. But it just seems kind of weird that something that you should ideally be doing anyway, that we're now at a point where in order to incentivize students that they have to now be paid to do so. I understand the idea when it comes to college, because colleges make so much money, an absurd amount of money on their athletes. So I get that part, even though there is some absurdity and what you were saying, Michael, about having college students with, these luxury cars.
Travis Hunter has a mansion, had a mansion
He
before he
should.
went to
He
Jacksonville.
made them people all
But
their
those
money. He
schools,
made
yeah,
those
those
I'm
people
schools
saying,
a
I'm
lot
make
of
saying it's
money.
insane amounts
fine.
of
It's
money.
fine, but it's like
They made a
It
lot
it's
of
is
money.
weird.
stagnant. Yeah, I mean, I just finished watching the Fab Five every 3 months. I watched the Fab Five documentary, and then the section where they're talking about, when Jayden says, "I walked into the Michigan bookstore and there's my jersey being sold right there, and I'm not getting a cut of that." I know he's sitting there like he's happy that these young cats are getting it, but he's like, man, those 2 years that we were the hottest thing in America, and we ain't getting no money for this. It's like
And they
that got
probably
to
still
hurt.
sell his jersey to this day. They probably still sell those
Oh
jerseys
hell
to
yeah,
this
they
day.
do. Oh hell yeah.
So
I mean,
that's 30
one thing
plus years of sales.
one thing I'd be very interested in this program, if they had an offshoot program with it, teaching the kids. I see it was like financial stability and capability, but also financial planning. I would hope that there's a situation where they're like, all right, you've made this sort of money.
Retirement,
Let's talk about
401k.
throwing it in
Yeah.
a savings account. Let's look up
Yes.
some high yield savings account online,
Yeah.
and why would you want to do brick and mortar, or why would you not do brick and mortar versus an online? Make sure the online is, properly insured. Oh yeah, let's put your money in there. Let's see how it grows. Or let's introduce you to, IRAs, or let's introduce you to all these kind of minimal investment opportunities that don't have to be, you don't have to be sitting there day trading, but yeah, you can get a mutual fund. You can get all sorts of things.
Especially at their age.
Exactly. Just so they can learn. Yeah. Like we tell our kids, like we put our money in my two sons, like, oh, we put our money in this savings account over the year. Look how much money like they give you interest, like literally by just keeping the money there. You know, like my son now, he's 17. He just got like his first real jobby job, you know, and like he has his money. But like the first thing I'm gonna tell him, like, you know, cut that check in half and put it to savings, even more of that, because you're living at home, you know, most of the time we got your food, we got you taken care of, but use what you want to have fun with, but put it off to the side. You know, put it off to the side and see how it can work for you and grow for you. So in like 5 years, you're like, wow, look how much random money I earned just off interest.
But again, if he's starting at that age, then he's going to be in way better shape than someone who's starting later. So
just understanding what savings is, you know, so you have that, because it's such a wide opening thing when there's all these news reports like your average American only has $1,000 of, you know, liquid, you know, actually in their savings account or something like that. It's like, wow, that's crazy. You know, like these kids are making $2,000. So like, you know, spend half of it, have fun, go crazy, you know, $1,000. If you have to get some extra food, you want to go out on a date or whatever you want to do, but like put that other $1,000, throw it in some kind of, you know, savings account and see what happens.
For sure. And what are your thoughts on what we have the situation with the Smithsonian?
They open until tomorrow, right?
Till tomorrow, at least as it stands now. With the funds that they apparently had from prior years to be able to kind of cover things or keep them afloat until then.
Well, you know what? Maybe they do this deal. How about they uncover and you know, go down in the basement, grab all the secret stuff about like the giants that
put the hat on.
Exactly. Go grab the giant skeletons that you guys found in North America.
Oh,
you know, that you know, and bring them up. How about tell me all the secrets that are going on in the Grand Canyon? What about all those tunnels and everything in those caves in the Grand Canyon? You know, we're not even going to talk about UAPs and UFOs. But, you know, we'll talk about 3-Eye Atlas is coming, by the way, in a month. Be ready. All right. I'll be back on in a month when 3-Eye Atlas comes, and we can have a live stream of what happens when that big sucker comes around the sun. But yeah, Smithsonian, tell me about Bigfoot. Tell me about the Loch Ness Monster. Tell me about Lake Champlain Monster. Tell me about what's going on in the Grand Canyon, you know, and we'll be square. You know, we'll be square. I have no love for the Smithsonian. You show me all those giant bones you got in the basement, and then we can talk.
Love it. Hater Nation at its finest. So,
damn right. Thoughts. I've been to Area 51. Very difficult drive.
Okay.
I got chased down by a couple of pickup trucks. No lie.
Wow.
We need to save that for that's another
great story.
That's the Halloween show, ladies and gentlemen. That's the Halloween show. We'll do that for the Halloween show.
I love it.
I like
it. Know, again, we need to talk about it. You see, when you pay people money, they show up for work. So there are other people who, the reason why the Smithsonian is closed is because they're not paying their money. They're trying to avoid paying for the things because they don't want certain lists to come out. You know, they don't want the files to be dropped. And we're not talking about Word or Excel. So, you know, you guys just drop those files and then y'all get the money from Smithsonian. You know, this is taking a turn that we generally don't talk about on this show, ladies and gentlemen. I blame you, Mike. This is your fault. This is it's such a cool guy. You're telling all this crazy stuff, but you know,
giant bones.
There you go. They got
not giant like 7'6". I'm talking about real giants. Read about the giants in Afghanistan. Read about them.
Okay, yeah.
I'll leave you with that.
That's great. You know, I feel like the giant bones are in people's closet about like why they was
Hunt for the Skinwalker. Skinwalker Ranch. My man George Knapp.
Okay.
Yes, I've taken over the show.
That's it, ladies and gentlemen. We totally, the reptilians are taking over.
Don't get me on that. That's David Icke. Don't get me on that now.
There we go. The reptilians are taking over. They wear skin suits to trick us, and that's the reason why it's closed up. But
I was going to correct you, but actually, you're right.
You see that, ladies and gentlemen?
Reptilian agenda. I'll say this: when we're talking about Smithsonian, I would say kudos that we were talking about just the idea of a lot of times I feel like we don't talk about a whole bunch on here on this show, but I know like offline in talking about different institutions, organizations in terms of the use of their funds. There's one certain one out there that will remain nameless in Mata. That a lot of times, they talk about, oh, we need to fix this, we need to repair this, and oh, this is why we have 3 different types of fare types with our subway. We have our regular fare, we have our rush hour, our peak of peak rush hour. We have all these different fare types because we're trying to finance this. And I'm like, you guys are making money hand over fist. Where's all this money going? And to hear that, at least with Smithsonian, they had a surplus sitting there, and that they had that luxury of being able to still use that surplus amount of funds. However big it may be or not be, it was at least allowed for them to continue functioning, in the time in this type of circumstance. So hopefully, things can get resolved, in the near future. We don't get a repeat of prior shutdowns that have, lasted quite long, and there are a lot of family and friends, which I'm sure for you guys too, that are in that position where they are in a predicament now because of this situation that they did not foresee, or that they did not anticipate that we would find ourselves in again. So hopefully it can get resolved, and we can get a lot of those institutions or those things that rely on it to be able to run. Because, as someone who travels a lot, that is concerning, that, that affects a lot of what we have with our security when it comes to being able to travel in our airports. And that is a very important thing. That's not something that we can kind of like shortchange or have impacted. It's very super important part, even outside of what we have with our museums and our other institutions that provide a archiving of our history. So hopefully it gets resolved. Any last comments before we wrap up here, folks? Mike or Spills?
The reptilians are now taking over. I don't believe any of that stuff. That's not real. I feel like the people that are taking over the world are bad people. They don't need to be reptiles to do that. Human beings are perfectly capable. So
That
open
is
back
true.
the Smithsonian by making the votes that you need to not be terrible people. But people are terrible without having cold blood. But back to you guys.
Mike?
Yeah, you would think that this country, we would be able to have, normal discourse without people, throwing tantrums and not working with each other. And thus other people and other organizations end up suffering because of it. And everyone else is just kind of cool with it. Like, okay, we're shut down. Like that affects my work. That affects a lot of people's work. It's putting a lot of stuff in danger, like it's putting a lot of people at a point of worry and concern as this year ends. And then, like I said, 3i Atlas is coming in November. So, who knows what's that? And you know what? NASA, because of the closing and the shutdown, NASA is not alerting us as to what this thing out in space is doing as it circles around the sun and is heading toward us. So once again, be on the lookout. And when it happens, y'all be like, you know what? That crazy guy in the middle of the screen that was on Brandon's show, he was talking about that a whole lot. Check it out. I told
All
you.
right.
I won't say I told you so. In fact, I will though. 3i Atlas. It's not a comment.
So with that, guys, we're going to wrap up this week of pop culture. I want to, thank Spills as always for hopping on, and I want to thank you, Mike, for joining us as well this week. You are our guest, so I'm going to punt it over to you first. Can you tell folks where they can find you?
You can find me and yell at me all you want at The Hater Nation on Twitter. I do all that, everywhere else I'm doing other stuff. So, just be good to each other out there.
Yes,
I tell my
please.
kids one thing when they leave the house every day. I say, I love you. live the way, the way. And that's not the Mandalorian. I came up with it before he did. So, forget him, but live the way, and whichever that way is, it's typically positivity, showing people respect. And and if people annoy you, try your best just to walk away.
There you go. Spills.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you can catch me at Truly Spill on Instagram. Shout out to the Gladwell Project for having myself and Teresa at her opening the Friday evening. A wonderful time. Shout outs to them, and let's keep all the positivity going.
For sure. And last but not least, I am your host, Brandon Choi, co-creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited, which you can see down below. You can find me at Brandon Choi ENT or Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it these days, or Brandon Choi _ENT on Instagram. With that being said, also want to give a shout out to our Patreon subscribers. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. You help keep the lights on. Let me see if I can get this up now. But yes, just want to give a shout out to our Patreon supporters. Whatever tier that you guys fall under, does not matter. We do appreciate what you guys are able to provide and be able to contribute and helping us keep the lights on around here at Movers and Shakers Unlimited. But with that, folks, thank you guys so much for watching. Be safe out there, and see y'all soon. Bye now.
Peace.